Hello, all you big, beautiful brains out there. What do you do now that the semester is starting again?
Today, we're talking about tips for getting your semester started off right.
Stay tuned.
That's my thing.
You can't just own a thing.
But it's my thing.
Before we get started, take a minute to subscribe to Psy vs. Psy. Help out your friendly neighborhood psychologist while we tell you about some of the most helpful things you can do to have a successful semester. Because if you're anything like us, you might be a little stressed about going back to school soon. Whether you're headed to college for the first time ever, going back to university after taking an education break, or you're headed back into the classroom for the first time since going virtual, this year we could all use a little extra support. So we thought we'd take this week on Psy vs. Psy to focus on some of the things we've really seen help students in our years of teaching.
Our first big tip is to get your head in the clouds. A great way to protect yourself from disaster is to use cloud services for all of your stuff. More than once, having my stuff sync to the cloud has saved my bacon. Develop a habit that makes it happen automatically, whether by using tools like Google Docs or MS Word online in your browser instead of from the desktop program, or by signing into the accounts, or by saving to a folder that automatically uploads to the cloud. That way you don't have to think about it. If you have to do it manually, you'll forget. If your computer crashes or gets stolen, if you lose your thumb drive or whatever it is, you'll still have all of your files and won't lose any of your hard work. Not only that, most of these services make group projects easier by allowing multiple people to work on documents together, and you avoid that awkward situation where the one person who didn't show up to the presentation was the one with the PowerPoint. You should all have access to the PowerPoint. One time, I even had a student get a nasty ransomware that locked their files and wanted them to pay hundreds of dollars to get them back. Everything that was in the cloud was able to be recovered without much trouble. So I highly recommend keeping everything backed up.
Tip number 2, make sure you utilize your support system. For a lot of university students, their time in college is their first time ever that they've been fully on their own. And with that independence can sometimes come disconnection. Just because you're independent doesn't mean you need to be isolated. Make sure you're reaching out to your family, your friends, your mentors, your colleagues, all the people who supported you. After all, their support helped you get there, and they care about how things are going. If you got where you are now, based on your own efforts, now is the time to start building new connections and finding people who support you.
Our next tip, your phone is smarter than you. Well, not really. If your phone was so smart, it would be the one going to university. If your phone was so smart, it would be the one going to university. What I mean by that is your prospective memory sucks, but your phone is great at it. You're going to have a ton of things to keep track of, not just due dates, but also planning when you need to start working on things to get it finished by the due date. Yes, you should focus on when you need to start, not when it needs to be done. And the most successful students start well before the due date, so there are no surprises. If you haven't seen our video on prospective memory, the memory that helps you remember to do things in the future, you should check it out. We talk about the research that shows up to 80% of everyday memory failures are prospective memory failures, and the best way to fight the problem is through assistive technology you probably already own. Planners don't work for me because I have to remember both to write it in the planner and to check the planner later on. No, I need something that will buzz and get in my face and say, hey, you've got to be somewhere. You've got something that you've got to do. Get in the habit of setting reminders. I ask Google to set reminders for me many times a day. Having tons of reminders, alarms, calendar events, and stuff that will help get your attention is really helpful for keeping on top of the things that you absolutely can't miss.
Another tip. You are important. With so much going on, it can be easy to reprioritize some things, but make sure yourself and your health don't end up on the bottom of that list. You have serious consequences if you miss an exam or don't turn in a paper on time, but no one is watching over your shoulder to make sure you eat a salad. Sleeping, eating right, exercising, self-care, those things are all still important. If you don't take care of yourself, you won't be able to do as well as you should. This is critically important in times like now. take the precautions you need, make sure to wash your hands, and do all the things you need to do to keep your body healthy. Most universities have medical doctors and mental health care on campus, so find out what services are there so you can use them if you need them. Remember, professors don't want to get sick either, so keep open communication and make sure your professors know when you need to miss class.
Another thing I only tell to my favorite students is that full-time student is actually a full-time job. There's a reason it's called full-time, because even the minimum 12 hours in a semester to be considered full-time are designed to take you 36 or more hours per week. 2 hours outside of class for every hour inside class. Now that's defined by the U.S. federal government, which academic programs must adhere to in order to be eligible for federal financial aid. The secret that no one wants to admit is that almost no students devote that much time to their studies, and they suffer for it. This is an even bigger problem when you work too. Some students take on part-time or full-time jobs to support themselves or their families, which is amazing and sometimes necessary. But be realistic about how much time your education will take you. It's more than you think. Can you sustainably work 2 full-time jobs? And do you have the self-discipline to do it? Your boss will be breathing down your neck when you're not on time and you're not on task. But your professors aren't going to be watching you every second to make sure you're working on that paper or reading or studying when you should. Because of this, I see a lot of students put academics on the back burner just because no one is yelling at them and their academic performance suffers. So give yourself time to be a student. Oh yeah, and not everything is going to be fun, but it can still be important. That's how skills work. Even legendary singer-songwriter Billy Joel had to start off with hot cross buns at some point.
Billy Joel? Really? If you have tips you want other big beautiful brains to know about, drop them down in the comments below. Or if you want to know more about the things psychology says could help you be more successful in school, make sure you subscribe to Psy vs. Psy so you can get all of our other videos and you can learn all about the science of psychology. Until next time, keep thinking.
And I'll see y'all later. Bye.
If I can't steal your thing, you can't steal mine.
Well, then don't make fun of Billy Joel.
Billy Joel? Everyone knows this is a Beyonce channel.
Are we still rolling?